Center for Practical Practices at Rutgers University, and with Graduate School of Education at Rutgers. And I'm here today to talk about college readiness and what is the role of the Common Core. So I would like to start with a quote that will be a highlight for this presentation, because I think that we as educators really need to make sure that every student who graduates high school have the same opportunity to go to college. And whether they do go or not should be a personal choice that they have to make, and not really be determined or limited in any way by the abilities or academic skills that they have when they graduate high school. I really truly believe that this should be a highlight for this. So the main goal for my presentation today would be to talk about college readiness, what that means, and what it means in your classroom, in the K-12 classroom. But I'm also going to talk about the college level classroom, and I hope to be able to bring my experience as someone who has been teaching undergraduate and graduate classes at Rutgers. I have been teaching mostly educational psychology for future teachers, but here today I'm going to talk about the major shifts in English language arts. I'm going to focus on English language arts and the Common Core, because I do believe that this is a very important subject in itself, but it also has a huge impact across the curriculum for students in middle and high school, and actually in elementary, so across really the K-12 spectrum. I would like to show you some examples of classroom activities, both at the K-12 and the undergraduate level. But also would like to look at some assessments with you. So that's going to be also a part of the presentation. All right. Is college education important? I, as somebody who comes from Rutgers, of course I'm an advocate for college education, as you can tell. But I think that the information that I will present to you will make that point too. So if you look at the graph, and this actually comes from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, if you look at the graph, it shows the median weekly earnings in 2013 if you look at the green bars on the right. And you can see that with the level of college education, the level of education attainment, the median weekly earnings rise significantly from less than a high school diploma to doctoral degree, or a professional degree, if you have to be accurate. But if you look at the left side, so these are the red bars on the left, you will see that having a higher level of education really affects unemployment. So the numbers here, as I said, are for 2013, and as you can see, having an associate's degree, an earned associate's degree, really puts you above that 6.1% of mean unemployment rate versus not finishing high school, not finishing some college. So this is the third one. Is that a good argument for you? It was a pretty good argument for me. And of course I'm biased, but I thought that this was a good representation of why we need college education, and we need to make sure that every high school graduate has access to that. So what is really college readiness? For many of us, for many parents and students, college readiness is equivalent to high school diploma. If you graduate from high school, you should be ready for academic work at the post-secondary level. But if you look at the recent trends in average freshman graduation rates. And I would like you to look at the green line because this is the average for all students. It looks like those average freshman graduation rates are rising. So if you in fact believe that graduating high school prepares you or is equivalent to college readiness, this is good news, right? We have to be happy with these numbers. But then, looking at this slide, where I'm showing the percent of high school graduates enrolled in colleges and universities by year, you can see that the trend is actually declining. And the numbers are declining not in a dramatic manner, but you can still see that in the past 5 years, numbers are going down. We all know that this has to do with the economic situation. Many people do choose to not go to college because of different economic situations that they may be experiencing. But still we have to pay attention to the trend because numbers are going down. And even more interestingly, I would like to show you some percentages for the college graduation rates. So for all of the students that are actually going to college, even though those numbers are declining, are experiencing some great trouble in their undergraduate studies. So looking at the most right bars, these are the percentages for students who are in fourth-year bachelor's degrees, and they graduate in 6 years. It looks like only slightly half of them are able to graduate from their program, which should be an alarming percentage if you look at even across the board. But for those four-year bachelor's degree students, that's really, I think, dramatic. Even more importantly, though, if you look at the blue bar, so these are the graduation rates for the remedial students. And I think that we really should be thinking about what is going on there, because these are students that are experiencing problems with the academic skills that they need for college-level work. It looks like about a third of them are only graduating. So think about those 2/3 that are never finishing their undergraduate studies. So this information actually is relevant for 2011. I couldn't find anything more recent. But even that, I think, paints the picture of what we should be doing for our students, and especially for the remedial students at the college level. Which prompted me to actually look more deeply into college remediation. And the information here comes from a recent report that looked at the percent of first-year undergraduate students who are attending public institutions. And again, if you look at the trend, it's really not dramatic, but the numbers could be different, percentages could be different from 2003, 2004 to 2007 and 2008. It looks like almost a fourth of all of those first-year undergraduate students who are then in public institutions. They are self-reporting that they need remediation, some type of remediation. The numbers vary, as you can see, by type and program, but overall, it's telling that we have almost 24%, 23% of people who self-report struggling with academic work. So having all of that information about the gaps that they may be experiencing, high school graduates going into undergraduate studies at public institutions, I think that it's important for us to take a closer look at the standards and really identify what are these gaps in their academic abilities, what are the things that they're really struggling with, why do they need remedial courses. And because the Common Core and the PARCC assessment promise to eliminate that disconnect, I think that it's important for us to go to the actual standards, to the actual shifts, especially in English language arts, and look at some of the assessments so that we gain a better understanding of that. Okay, so this is probably very familiar to many of you. I'm sure you've seen it before. But I would like to review the major shift in English language arts here so that we will have a better understanding. So they do call for complexity, and this is the regular practice with complex text and academic language. They call for evidence, because reading and writing should be grounded in evidence from the text. And we do have a huge emphasis, huge focus on building knowledge through content-rich nonfiction. And this is across the K-12 spectrum, I think really important. I also chose to show you this highlight. So this comes straight from the Common Core website. And here, I wanted to show you this because it really talks about the importance of English language arts across the curriculum, but also it shows an emphasis on critical thinking, problem-solving skills, analytical skills, all of these higher level thinking skills that students need to be able to be successful when they go into colleges. I'm actually going to show you some examples of activities both at the college level and the K-12 level. But before that, I thought it's important for us to also think what happens in the state of New Jersey. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with a website. It's achieve.org, and they have wonderful information updated very regularly about the implementation and the adoption of many college and career readiness policies across the states, and they regularly survey states to make sure that they have updated information. You are probably going to be interested to know that in New Jersey, we have only started working on the first one. So work has only been done in aligning high school standards with the expectation of college and careers. We still yet have to cover the other three, aligning high school graduation requirements with college and career ready expectations, developing college and career ready assessment systems, and also developing accountability systems that promote college and career readiness. And for this last one, I would like to engage your attention in some indicators that they are talking about developing. And really, the state of New Jersey has done nothing so far in this respect, but it's important work that is coming our way, and I think that it's important for us also to see that because through this table or this chart, which I think that really lays out the process of developing these indicators, you're going to be able to see what are some of the expectations of how accountability systems should be aligned to the Common Core. And to make that clearer, I wanted to give you an example. So if you look at the number 2, the scoring of college ready, scoring college ready and high school assessment, if you think about some of the indicators, the type and the scope of these indicators to make sure that we can measure this, they should be number 1, part of the annual school level public reporting, so this is column 1. But they should also be aligned with the statewide performance goals and should be a part of the school level incentives. And number 4, they should be a part of the accountability formula. So looking at all of this, we realize that that has to happen on the local level. So this cannot be a universal type of indicator that we would give to you and say, this has to work for you. Because these indicators have to really be developed based on whatever you're doing locally, the things that happen in your district, in your state. But it's important work because we have to make sure that we have an accountability system that is also aligned to the Common Core. I just thought that this was interesting information because there's still so much work to be done with accountability, but also with the implementation of the Common Core in the classroom. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some examples of specific activities that happen in both college level classrooms, but also I think that the one that I have for you as an example later on is from middle school. But for all of these activities, when we talk about it, I would like you to think about the type of mental activities that the students are engaged in, and think really what is the level of cognitive processing that they have to go through. This is actually a video. I don't think we have much time to show it. It's going to be uploaded online, so those of you who want to see it will be able to see it. And it's not really very glamorous. It's it's a typical classroom activity. It's an undergraduate class, and they're discussing readings. What happens in the classroom is they have to cover some readings, and then they're getting together. There's a student who's leading the discussion, and she has a set of questions to guide the discussion, make sure that people understand the readings, but they also are able to summarize the main points of the class, and they're just talking about the different readings and making sure that they have a good understanding, but also they're able to evaluate some of the ideas, make connections across the readings, that kind of stuff. So as I said, some of you who are interested are going to be able to see the video later. But this is, I think, a good example of the types of activities that take place in a regular college level classroom. And compared to this, I wanted to show you something that actually comes from my son's curriculum. He's in 7th grade. And I took the screenshot from his online textbook. They were currently learning about the Roman Catholic Church in medieval Europe. And what they had to do, so this was at the end of the lesson, they were supposed to go back to the text and look for some evidence, fill in the table, and engage in a comparative type of activity where they have to compare some of the facts and some of the evidence that comes from the text. So again, thinking about the level of cognitive processing that is going on with this exercise. This was actually assigned as a homework. And now I wanted to show you also this graph. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with it. It represents the levels of mental activities, and it's based on Bloom's taxonomy of cognitive processing. I wanted to show it to you because there's so much talk about higher order thinking skills, analytical thinking, all of these higher level academic abilities that we expect our students to be able to do so that they're ready for college and they're ready for life and for their careers. But so much of the focus is actually on the lower three, where we make sure that our students remember certain facts that we present to them, that they understand, and we want to make sure that they do understand and are able to apply some of that information. But rarely, or not as much as we would like to, even admit, we engage them in those higher level thinking skills, the analysis, synthesis, when they have to create something, where they have to make a comparison and really evaluate a piece of evidence versus another. All thinking skills that are critical for college level activities and success in post-secondary education. All of this is very important because we need to think about what are these critical skills and that we're teaching in the classroom. But also, very importantly, we must think about how we assess, how we monitor students' achievement. How are we making sure that our students do in fact know and are able to do all of these higher order tasks that we would like to engage in a classroom. And so we do know that assessments must reflect instruction. At that point, we know that 46 states and the District of Columbia need assessments that are aligned to the Common Core standards because those states have adopted the Common Core standards. We expect that the PARC assessments will measure students' critical thinking, problem-solving skills, and ability to communicate clearly. This actually comes from the PARC website. The expectation is also that PARC assessments will provide more meaningful, actionable, and timely information for all of us, the educators, the parents, and the students. And the PARC assessments will replace what we currently have as a state-level standardized assessments. So speaking of assessments and speaking of being able to monitor and track student achievement, I also wanted to show you a couple of items that I think are very interesting for us to see as something that is coming our way. This is actually a sample item coming from the PARC website. It's a grade 6 technology and has selected response item. And it's interesting in many ways. What I think is really different, and I'm going to show you for a comparison the New Jersey Ask item in a minute. But one thing that I really think is going to be a major shift in assessment is the fact that this is a single question, but it's broken down in 3 different parts, in 3 different sections. And for part A, you really have 2 different correct answers. So if you look at C and D, and we don't have the text passage here, but we are told that both of these are correct answers. So in order for a student to be able to think about not only a single correct response, but maybe multiple, they have to have a wonderful understanding of the text. They have to be really able to go back and deeply understand the meaning of the text. And not only that, but then in part B and C, they are asked to go back to the text and justify their answer. So it's not really a picking of, I think this one seems right to me, but it's really going back and making sure that you understand and you can make the argument why this is in fact the correct answer. Compared to this is something that I was also able to find online. This is a New Jersey Ask English Language Arts sample multiple choice questions. I picked 3. They are all related to the same text, same passage, but they are 3 completely separate answers with separate answers. And here, you don't really have to think about multiple answer items being correct or not. You just have to pick one of these. And you're not really asked to justify your answer. So the evidence of student learning, the evidence of student understanding is really not the same as with the PARC item. So you see that maybe the student picked the correct answer, but you really don't know if they have that good grasp, understanding of the meaning of the text. So I think that this is going to be a major cultural shift in teaching in the classroom, in developing assessments, teacher-developed assessments or things that you use in your everyday practice in the classroom. The type of items on the PARC that are coming along are going to be qualitatively different from everything that we know so far. And we must be thinking about how we should be teaching and assessing our students so that they go smoothly through that shift and be prepared for a new type of thinking of what assessment is. And this is especially in language arts. Very interestingly, I thought that I should show you an SAT critical reading item, just to make the transition between the PARC and the NJS, and then thinking about also what an SAT item looks like. I don't know if readable well. It looks really small on my slide, but the idea here is, again, for the students to go over a text. And then the question for this is, which of the following assertions, and they're given 5 options, and listen to this, detracts least from the author's argument in the second paragraph, and they give you the number of the lines. But again, think about the mental processing. What are the types of things, the types of processes that a student has to go through in order to be able to select a single correct answer in this case? But, you know, it's about going back to the text, making sure that you, in fact, understand the argument in the second paragraph, and then think about those 5 different assertions and the one of them that detracts least from the author's opinion. I mean, it's really many different, it's a series of higher order thinking processes that you have to be able to go through and really independently and smoothly to be able to successfully answer this item. For my second to last slide, I also wanted to show you this, and this is probably a topic of a bigger and wider conversation, but I just got tempted to show you this because I was reading through a report on the College Board Assessment Alliance study. So what they did, they really wanted to see if those College Board assessments are aligned to the Common Core. And they took all of the standards, both in English, language arts, and math, and I'm showing here only the language arts, but they did the same thing with math. They wanted to know if all of the items that are currently on the PSAT and the SAT, they actually have, I think, one more assessment that they included. But the idea was to see whether the items that are on all of these assessments are aligned to the Common Core. And there's some distribution in the percentages of alignment, but it's interesting that some of them are actually pretty high, looking at the 100s and the 90s percentages, and that's really high. I mean, it's really something that high school graduates, or even before that, they're going to go through, and they have to be prepared for those standards because. Think about, you know, the SAT as a test that students are taking in order to show college readiness and college preparedness. I've included all of the references in the last slide, so those of you who are interested in learning more about all of these different reports and studies are going to be able to do that on your own. So coming close to the end, I just wanted to go back to my questions in the beginning. And now think about coming full circle and going over the same questions. I do hope that we have a understanding of the role of the key shifts in language arts, not only for language arts, but really across the curriculum and across all of the academic areas that students will be engaged in. And what is their importance for college readiness, and making sure that we are graduating students that are ready to be successful in a college career. Thank you so much.